Bang!
Hello.
Here we go. Okay, people.
I'm falling asleep over here.
I love it. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh my goodness, I've been so excited and looking forward to this show, guys. Um, I'd like to introduce my guests today. Two men that are truly pioneers in this industry, fashion industry, modeling industry, and truly, I use that word with the utmost respect, true pioneers. I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove something really weird on this show before I start this show. If you go on Google right now and you Google who was the first black model on the cover of GQ, they'll give you a name. Funny enough, that cover was shot in 1979. So let's rewind a little bit to 1977. You're looking at him right now, Althaus. That
Hello,
was the
guys.
first black man on the cover of GQ, the first. And the gentleman right next to him, Mr. Paul Palmero, was the first Latino model on the cover of GQ. Now, funny enough, he didn't do just one. He did two covers for GQ. Therefore, this is a huge, huge honor for me to bring these two men on board because they've meant everything to me when I joined this industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, Althaus and Paul Palmero. Welcome,
Hello,
gentlemen.
everyone. Hello,
Good
Paul.
afternoon. Hi, Omi.
I love you both so much. I want to start with something very, very simple. Urs, how did you embark in this crazy ass industry of ours, the modeling industry? How did it all begin for you? And by the way, guys, we have a whole hour, but that doesn't mean your answers are going to be a whole hour. So
Okay, I'm
let's
trying
give
to be
people,
short.
let's give
But
people
with me,
the
you know,
little short.
Hey,
I
Go
used
for
to
it.
play soccer.
did you hear that?
I used to play soccer, and my mom, in order to make more money, worked for a boutique in Uri. And to their anniversary, they invited me as a soccer player to do a show with professional models. And then I licked the blood, you know. But when I went to Zurich to look for a real agency, they told me, you know, there's no work for black men. But I've seen that Yves Saint Laurent with the great Marion Womble used black models. So I took a ticket, second-class ticket, went to Paris, went to see an agency, and the next day I was able to work for Yves Saint Laurent. So that was really my start. And that was
Oh
in
my, what,
1975. And it was
what a
the
start.
big
Yeah,
Russian
really,
collection.
right? What a start.
I
Yeah,
mean, Yves Saint
amazing.
Laurent, your first job.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I
And
was
Paul,
very lucky. And then was a New York agent solely, and he told me, whenever you come to New York, I'm going to give you a contract. And 6 months later, I went to New York. That's how I started.
my God. Paulie,
Yeah.
how did you get started?
Oh my God, I got to go back a little bit here. Shut up, Urs.
I love you, Paul. You know, you
I
always make
love
me
you.
smile.
You make me happy just to hear your voice.
Thank you.
I was working at a Yves Saint Laurent boutique with Marion Womble. We were both selling clothes back then and there. And Scavullo used to come in the shop all the time. And finally, Sean asked him to take a picture of me and that he would send to Zoli to see if I could model. If it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have been in the business at all. But then I hung out with Zoli for a little bit, and John Casablancas from Elite decided to open a men's division in Paris, and he took 12 guys with him, and I was one of them. So that was my beginning.
Now,
Amazing.
you
Amazing.
you both mentioned, well, actually, Paulie, you mentioned Marion Womble, and that was someone that I looked up to, like the ultimate to me. I mean, just so you know, people, Paul to me was like the first celebrity male model I ever met. I met you through photographer Rene Volpi. Remember Rene?
Oh, I love
And
Renee, yeah.
you had your girlfriend at the time, Sana, and
Yeah.
I was just so like in awe with you. I mean, Urs to me was just like a statue. Like, oh my God, this guy. Like, Urs, thank you, because you're the reason why I never really pushed myself hard in the print industry.
Ah,
Because I
come
said,
on.
I don't look like this guy. Look at this guy. This guy is perfection, you know?
Yeah, he
And
was.
Paulie, the funny thing about you, Paul, is that you're not even 6 feet tall.
Be quiet.
I mean,
I think
listen,
I think I shrunk with my old age.
Paulie, tell
I
me
think
that story
I
you
used to
told
be
me the
I
other
used to
day.
be taller.
You said
Say what?
something to me how you used to put stuff in your shoes to get taller.
Yeah, don't remind me. Well, you know, I wasn't a citizen, and when I didn't know what to go back to in the United States, so when they told me I wasn't working, I thought, what the hell? So I remember leaving Elite and walking around to a shoe shop, and they had heels. They were showing heels to sell, and I went in there and I said, "Can you sell me 2 heels and wrap them in something so that I can wear them?" So I did. And after that, I started working. Go figure. But then after a while, it didn't matter after a while because they would put boxes when I shot with tall girls, or they have the girls sitting down, or you know, they cut me 3/4. It was okay.
I love
But
it.
But
Omar, it's true because I remember I shot pictures in Munich, and that's where I met Paul. And in the studio, he suddenly was so much higher. Huh? It's a true story.
Oh,
You
yeah, it
remember
oh
is,
my!
man.
3 days in Munich?
Are you serious? Now,
I'm serious.
Kirk, let me ask you something. When did you
Yeah,
feel
well,
like
you're like 6'2", right?
6'1".
6'1",
Yeah, typical,
6'1"?
Yeah.
perfect.
When did you feel like Earth, like, oh my God, this is the break? Like, when did you feel like that was the break for you?
I think the break was when, after 4 months, and I was in New York, I was booked for a big editorial of GQ. And then Zoli called me and said, "Oh, Urs, Harry Koulianos wants to see you for the cover." And 3 days later, we shot the cover. And when I arrived, I was a greenhorn. I arrived in the studio, and then Harry came with me at 9 o'clock in the morning with a glass of champagne. And he asked me, "Do you know what we do today?" And I said, "Yes, of course, we shot the cover." And I remember how it would have been yesterday. I said, "What?" And that in 1977. I'm the first black man. And then I knew if it really comes out, that most probably I have a chance to make it in the industry. So that was really the big break.
That's now. I was talking to Paul a few days ago, and Paulie, you told me a story that blew me away. You turned down a 45-day booking, a catalog booking of 45 days, because you really were not into catalog. You wanted to be creative and do editorial.
Yeah.
Who did you blow up that booking to go work with?
Well, you know, all of a sudden I started doing catalogs after I did all the editorials. But I worked with the greatest of the greatest. I worked with Dee Bourdon, Stephen Hyatt, Toscani. I can't, all the names fail me, but I loved working with these guys because they were so creative, and their studios were like a church, and there was like these beautiful women with their hair and their makeup and the clothes. That's why I wanted to be a model. I didn't want to be sitting in underwear in the middle of a studio somewhere. So I don't know. I went into work one day and I said I want to go get a coffee, and I never went back. But
Brilliant.
in those days you could do stuff like that, you know, because there were only 200 models in the world. Only male models was not a big deal because guys didn't want to do it until they found out about the money and the girls, and everybody wanted to do it.
Of
But in my
course,
day, there weren't that many male models,
I remember that. I remember
right?
that.
You remember that?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, were you
There
12?
was there was very little amount of male models. I know,
Yeah,
but
he
in
was
Europe,
12, Paul. He was 12 then.
yeah. But I remember in Europe, I mean, there were especially black models. There weren't that many. I mean, we're talking about Urs, you're talking about Marion Wombo. I mean, to me, Marion Wombo was just the ultimate. I've never seen anything like that. Um, I
But
really could
Omar,
just recall like
but Omar,
3 or 4 guys.
Marion
That's right.
made me to enter in the modeling because he was my idol. And when I've seen all his campaigns with Yves Saint Laurent in Paris and stuff like that, he gave me the courage to try it myself too. So it was Marion who was really responsible that I started modeling, you know, a little bit later.
Yeah, but Marion didn't work that much. You know, it was hard for
Yeah,
him.
I know.
He did the shows, but in New York they weren't open for that. I don't
yeah,
remember, but
yeah, they
he
were.
did the shows in Europe, and I think he made a living doing that. But
Yeah.
in New York, I don't think he had very
I
much
mean,
success
when
because
I came to New York in
he was black.
1977, it even was very hard for black men to work, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
America
and
was tough because none of us did well in. I mean, I know I did, and I had to move to Milano. I mean, I ended up in Milano, but Milan and Paris was very acceptable to black men. America was a tough one to crack. They were like,
Latin.
hey,
The French loved
Latino.
the fact that I was Cuban. They were like, "Oh, Cuba, the Paris of the Caribbean." They loved me there. I love Paris too. It
Yeah.
was great.
j'adore Paris, hein?
Say that
Had a great
again,
time.
Ernst.
I said, j'adore Paris. Because
Oh,
Paris was, for me also, it was my start, you know?
Sure.
And then it saved my life because whenever I stopped modeling and I went into acting, when I had no money, I used to call the Paris agents, and like that I could start again modeling. And I got all the shows and nice catalog work and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
make,
In Europe, they remember you.
Sorry?
Once you do well in Europe, they remember you
It's
there.
true. Yeah. Yeah, very
well, we
loyal.
remember that back in the days we had that good old formula that if you did well in Europe and you came to America with a book full of tear sheets, America accepted you and you
Correct.
did extremely well because you worked with so many brilliant masters of photography that when you came to America, everybody really, paid attention to you.
That
That's
was
true.
true. You know, in 1977, 78, all my book was very European. But when I stopped modeling and I came back in 1985, after we shot The Name of the Rose, I had a fantastic agent. She took me back, Nadia from Man.
Of course.
You know our friend Nadia.
Yeah,
And I will never
Hello.
forget that. I went
Nadia
to her in
restarted my
85.
career too.
I was very proud. I showed my book, you know, with all the covers and GQ and stuff like that. And Nadia said to me, "No, listen, this is old. No one cares about your book." She was really tabula rasa. She took all the tear sheets out, which were 6 years old, and she made me testing. That was my restart in New York. Thank you, Nadia.
And this is after having a
True story.
GQ cover she sent you to test. I love it.
Everything else.
Only Nadia.
Everybody knows that you were on the cover. I don't want to see it.
Oh
And you know,
my.
from that time, Paul, you remember we were dressed elegant in Yves Saint Laurent clothes and Valentino and stuff like that. Nadia said to me, "No, no, no, no. Huh? Jeans." So I had to wear jeans. She didn't want to see me in designer clothes, nothing. And I had to go to the castings in the new street style. That was in 1985. I never forget.
Did you make money?
Yeah, I mean, before I've done very well in
No,
Europe.
afterwards.
What do you mean in 85?
Yeah, did you work?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, when he
Good.
went to
I
New
always worked
York,
out.
he worked.
You know, my biggest mistake was maybe in 1977 I was on the cover of GQ. Then I received with Arthur Elgert the first pictures with Calvin Klein in 78. And then I stopped modeling. Few people know that. And I started my own business in New York, Ecstasy, the first modeling ensemble, which we lost all the money. So when I wanted to go back after 3 years to modeling, no New York agency took me. So I went back to Paris. And when in Paris, I've done all the big shows and I got a lot of catalog works in Germany and stuff like that. And then New York took me back.
Oh my God, Luca from Calabria says hello to you, Urs.
Hello Luca. Buonasera, come stai? Bello.
Gotta give a shout out to Luca from Calabria. Let me see. Whoa. Moments you'll never forget. Both of you. Paulie, give me a moment, Paul, that you will never forget about your journey into this industry.
Oh my
And
God,
I
there's
know
so
there's
many.
many.
Let me think about that now.
So there's
I forgot.
many.
Yeah, there were a lot of moments. Yeah, but the greatest moment, what started my career really was when Guy Bourdin, French photographer, booked me for Elle magazine, and he booked Paul North and Paul Palmero, me. And every time he said Paul, we both would move. And he went crazy and he said, "What's your last name?" I said, "Palmero." He goes, "Your name is Palmero from now on." So
Oh yeah.
I became Palmero, and the rest
which,
was history.
which most people know you as Palmero.
Yeah, that was Guy Bourdin's fault. Correct.
Well, a master. Who? Question, Paul. Who shot your first GQ cover?
The first one was Steve Hyatt. I was living in Paris with
Steve
Nina.
Hyatt. Unbelievable.
I had my girlfriend Nina, the beautiful Bulgarian model, and he booked us together for that job. Harry did. But the problem was that when we got there, they didn't know that Nina and I had broken up, and we had to be happily in love for the picture.
Oh my goodness.
Brilliant.
She kept she gave me so much knee on my balls, excuse my language. She kept hitting me and hitting me. She was so mad at me, but then she was smiling, and I had to smile because it was the cover of GQ. Boy, she got back at me.
I remember that cover
Yeah,
with the
she was
girl. I didn't know it
beautiful.
was your girlfriend.
She was wonderful, beautiful girl. But we were broken up, and she didn't want to be there with me. So figure out.
Can't blame him. Urs, what about yours? Who shot your cover of GQ, Urs?
John Peden.
John Peavy.
Yeah, gentleman,
Unbelievable.
brilliant photographer. Thank you, John,
Yeah.
for everything.
Now,
And he shot also the
was there the
22
cover?
pages edit.
Was
Sorry?
there editorial inside after the cover, or was just the
Yeah, we
cover?
shot 24. No, first we shot the editorial, 24 pages. And when Harry Kulianos seeing the photographs, he rebooked me for the cover. So that was my break.
Oh, the days when tear sheets matter, when editorial meant something.
It's
Yeah.
incredible, It's
Is
incredible.
Yeah.
is there any photographer, Urs, that you say, wow, I wish I could or could have worked with this photographer? I know what you're gonna say, but just say it.
No, just because you spoke before about the European books. When I came in 1977 to New York, Soli said to me, "Oh, Urs, you have a very European book with white girls and great photographers. Here in America, most black models only get catalog work to do. And so when I send you now to the go-sees, they all want to do with you tests. Just always tell them, yes, if you book me, do a test." So I was a greenhorn, and I had an option for 2 weeks, somewhere to the Caribbeans, and the photographer's name was Bruce Weber. And when I went in, Bruce looked at me and said, "Oh, that is nice. And I put an option. Can we do a couple of shots, tests at the
Right.
studio?" And I said to him, "Oh, no, I really don't do test work. But if you book me on the trip, we can do that a test." So when I came back to the agency, solely freaked, and I was 21 years old, and I said, "But Soli, you told me to say that." And he said, "Yes, but not to Bruce Weber." So Bruce Weber afterwards never booked me again. So that was most probably one of my biggest mistakes.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
No, that's a really good story. You told Bruce Weber, "Yeah, I'll let you test me if you book me."
I
Oh,
didn't know who he was.
I
I came
also,
from Switzerland.
No, Paul, I
I
know
also
that.
wanted, I also wanted to work with Bruce because I didn't look like what he used. You know, he used very muscular, pretty boys, and we were from a different era. But he finally booked me when I was 60
I
years old. We did
remember.
Italian, we did French Vogue together, and he wanted for me to get real intimate with this beautiful boy. And Bruce said, right in front of me, he said to this guy, "You don't understand who this guy is. Once upon a time, everybody wanted to be close to him." That made me feel great that Bruce said that.
And I
He's a good,
remember that spread. That spread was phenomenal. The
yeah,
photos
that
that you guys
beautiful.
did for French. Was it Italian Vogue or was it Roma Vogue?
It was Italian Vogue
It was Italian Vogue.
with the beautiful. She was so beautiful, that woman. Oh my God,
Who was she?
I forget her name now, but she was a famous model and tall, and of course,
Of course.
taller, way taller than me. But but Bruce didn't care, so you know, I'll think about her name in a minute.
I think,
Beautiful
Paul,
girl.
you were small, but you had sex appeal, and you were damn good looking.
But
Come on. You can't
you
have
know what?
everything, you know?
Yeah, I know.
God is very nice with people. Some he makes beautiful, but small, and some he makes,
Uh,
very tall and
of
ugly.
course,
So you're a lucky
you're
guy. Come
you're the
on.
best. You're the best. You make me smile so much. I
Oh,
love you
come
to
on.
I
death.
always
You make me
say,
smile.
God is a comedian. He'll give you a lot. He won't give you everything. He'll give you a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's like, oh well, I can't. If you're extremely beautiful, I'm gonna take one thing away. If you're
That's true.
really ugly, I'm gonna give you a lot.
Yeah.
Like so you can shine. It's just really funny how it
Yeah,
works. I
that's the
there's
way. That's the way it is for sure.
there's a question that's burning inside of me that I really want to talk to you boys because it was so part of our journey into this industry, and that was the nightlife.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
The nightlife. It's not that it was important to us, it was just a lifestyle. So whenever I think of nightlife, I'm sorry, my brain goes to one place and one place only, and that's Studio
There
54.
was no other place. I mean,
I
I
mean,
did an I did an editorial for GQ at Studio 54 before it opened with Alva Chin and Tookie Smith, and we had the whole club to ourselves. I met the doorman, I met Steven,
Mark.
and because of that, whenever the crowds were sitting outside, like 100 people screaming, "Let me in, let me in," if I saw Mark, if he saw me, he'd say, come on, get in, get in. And that was like the ocean parted.
yeah,
And I would walk right in. But you know what? It messed my modeling career because I would stay there almost every night till 5 in the morning.
hello,
And
we all
the
did.
next day I was like, oh, whatever, to the point that, well, never mind.
Welcome,
I
Paul.
got help from my friends.
Well, welcome to the club. I remember I went because I also used to go almost every day, but I was 21 years old. And when we did the catalog works, in New York, and all the guys came, I looked like a baby, even if I was out like 20 until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But the nights in Studio 54 were amazing. And old Pat Cleveland.
Hello,
I
of
won
course.
with her in Studio 54 a model contest dancing for a benefit. I think it was cancer or something like that. So Studio 54 was amazing. But I think it also was the time where you had to be, either you were on the A list, B list, or you had to be beautiful and a famous model. Otherwise, you had no chance to get in. And
You know,
I was
go ahead, go continue.
friends with the PRH and Gifford and Wallace, and they started the Studio 54. And they told me once and explained it to me very, very well. They said, you see, Studio 54 is like a painting which is not finished. And there came the doorman in Mark, you know, Mark McKee, or
Mark
how
Bennett,
his name was.
very dear friend.
And
Good guy. Good
he
guy.
had the job, his job was to get that mix between A, B, and C listing. So it changed a little bit every day. So I think we guys and the models on that time, we were on the list to get every timing. We had never a problem.
Let me ask you, because this is just my take on going out the studio. Like Paul said, it was like the parting of the Red Sea. But every night that we went in there, wasn't there like some sense of accomplishment and belonging that when we went in there, we go, okay. I mean, obviously it becomes a Studio 54, like to us regulars, it wasn't a nightclub and like, oh, we're going to go party. No, it was a lifestyle. It's what we do. Like if I ran into you in the street, I'm like, oh, I see your studio. Because I know I'm going to see you that
But
night.
know, Omar, I think Paul and me, I think we were used that already from Paris. Because you remember Club 8 in Paris, Paul?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I was there every night too.
That was every night. We had dinners with Kenzo, with Yves Saint Laurent, with Lulu de Folles. The most beautiful girls, it was a gay club, but the most beautiful girls were there. All the top models and the famous actresses. Everyone went there every night. So I think we, with the European background, we were used that style, you know? So Studio 54 made everything much bigger, of course.
Much bigger. The
But it was
music.
always part of our life in Paris to go out and to be glamorous and
Sure.
with wonderful people,
Sure.
you know. So
It was part of everything. That's where I got discovered to become a model. It was a studio. If it wasn't for studio, I probably would. Yeah, I would have never joined this industry because I didn't know anything about fashion at all.
So what
Zero.
happened? Tell me about
Yeah.
it.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
How did
I
you go
just went
in?
to see I went to see a play on Broadway with my buddy Ricardo. We barely we spoke a little bit of English, like mashed up English, and we just happened to we saw this crowd over 54th Street, just all these people. Ricky looks at me and goes, "Hey V, let's go down and see what's going on down there." And he says, "Oh, that's the place we saw in the news where famous people go." And I'm like, "Oh, you're right. Let's go by the crowd and see if we see famous people." And of course, you guys remember how Steve used to stand on top of that fire hydrant
Yeah.
because he was short.
Yeah.
And that's why he picked people. And he went, those two. I remember right before he picked us, he looked at the guy and he goes, "Stop staring. You're not going to get in." Those two right there. And I go, "Me?" And he goes, "You coming or you staying?" And I'm like, "We're coming."
Brilliant.
I truly believe I was born that day because I saw a world that I never experienced. I like staring at Halston, staring at Andy, looking at Basquiat. Basquiat, I couldn't get my eyes off him because I'm like, how did that guy get in here?
But you know, I also think it was the time. In the 60s, it was London, and before it was Berlin, and in the 70s, many artists moved to New York. So it was in a time where all the rich and the artists came together. And studio was the perfect place. I mean, it was amazing. You went in there, you danced with Bianca Checker, Mick Checker was their host, and you said that Calvin. I mean, all our clients and friends were in there every day. It was an amazing. It was an
Tell me
amazing.
this, because there's somebody that I've been trying to figure out whatever happened. I remember my first night at studio, I must have stared at this one gentleman for at least 1 hour and got to meet him after years, Sterling St. Jacques.
Ah, Sterling.
Yeah.
I never saw anyone look like that in my life. I was like, who is this human?
He's beautiful, beautiful. Listen, they took Studio 54 sent Sterling and me and Sherry to South Africa to represent disco dancing because in Europe they didn't know what disco dancing was all about. So we were in South Africa with Sterling and Sherry going down a runway and showing them how to dance the disco style, you know, like with all that music from Donna Summer. And it was they thought I was Mick Jagger. The kids there, They would sit outside my bedroom and wait for an autograph. I was like, what is going on here? It was an amazing.
Amazing.
Oh, I remember that we went to a fight for a famous boxer, and the boxer was late trying to get in. We could hear this chant of like 10,000 people screaming, and the guy there said, "Go, go, you go," because he's not here yet. They opened those gates, and the sound. They thought we were famous. 100,000 people were there from the stadium. And I looked to Sherry and I said, "What do we do?" And she goes, "Just wave, honey, just wave." They thought we were like the stars of the thing, but they pushed us out because the boxer was late getting in. So they put us out, and everybody thought we were somebody. And I never forget that sound, man. I never forget. That's what rock and roll stars must hear all the time.
Now,
Amazing.
question that I have in regard to this industry. First, what type of rates were you getting back in the days when you first started in this industry? Like, how did that affect you, or how did that become
You mean
part
the
of?
rate?
Like, yeah, the rates.
You
Like
know,
you will work, let's
this
say a
is,
catalog rate.
I love your question because in 76 when we came, in New York, the man and the girls earned $600 a day if they work for catalogs like Macy's or Saks Fifth Avenue and stuff like that. And then in 77, John Casablancas came to New York and opened up Elite. And you remember Monique Pilar, she was the head booker of Ford. She moved to Elite,
Yeah.
and all the big girls, Shani Stick, everybody from Ford came to Elite. And in the meantime, after 1 month, John put up the rates, 1,500 a day for catalog work. And then Zoli said, okay, the top man, we moved to. And can you imagine? That was in 1976. It moved from $600 to $1,500 a day. And you used to work 3, 4, 5 days a week on that time. It was a lot of money. And then it stood up maybe in 78. Then John started to move the rates on the girls. And suddenly, like, Isabel Rossellini became $6,000
Yeah.
or $5,000. And I remember we went to a bar in Soho, and he said to me, you know, it's amazing. Can you imagine? They pay me $6,000 a day. I even could ask for more. It was an incredible time.
You
Everybody
remember
was
those days,
working.
right, Paulie?
That was the good time.
Yeah, I'm
That was the
trying to
good days.
remember the girl. She wouldn't get out of bed for under $10,000. I wonder who that was. I forgot. But the girls were getting all kinds of money. The
No.
guys weren't really. They weren't.
No, no.
They didn't
But
have
that's what I said,
campaigns
Paul.
for the boys
Paul,
back then.
this is important because in 76 or 75, Marco Hemingway became the first $1 million contract. And only when John started, all the other agencies started to move up the rates. When we had 1,500, the girls and the men for catalog work, John moved up the rates. Janice Dickinson, suddenly they made 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. And Iman or other big girls, she said once they didn't got up unless they got 100,000. But that was maybe 5, 6 years later. But it was
Right.
an incredible time, you know?
Yeah,
And
it was
then
a good
the men,
time.
we remained on the 1,500 unless you got the
Correct.
campaigns and stuff like that.
Okay,
But it was a good
what?
time. It was a good time for male models because there was work. You know, I mean, models could get on the cover of GQ or Men's Wear or Italian Vogue. You know, there was work for the models until the Hollywood figured it out, and they started throwing away all the male models and started using movie stars because they figured the publicity was so great that now they wanted to move into our territory.
I have a different.
And they had SAG, they had a union, but models were not unionized. We couldn't fight back. So
I
back
tried.
to Europe.
I tried, Paulie. I tried to equalize the rates.
You tried?
I tried to do it back in 1994. I really did. I went on a boycott, and I wanted to sort of equalize the rates or at least give us half. At least give us half. You know, a girl's working for 12 grand. Okay, at least give us 6, but don't give me 2,500 when you're giving the
Right.
girls 6. That is a whole different story that I'll get into in the future about that. Because, you know, here it is, we're in 2020, 2024, and you see so many rates of $600 and $1,000. You go, what? When did this become a rate?
Yeah.
Like,
It went
what
back
happened
down
to
Omar,
again.
1,500?
Omar, now I remember, John was also, I think it was in 1977, 78. That's when, what Paul said, when the Hollywood actors came and stuff like that. And then when the designers wanted to give, like, the big girls, like Iman Beverly Johnson, Janice Dickinson, and all that, you know, they wanted to pay $5,000. Then John said, no way. You make so much money with their faces. And then he asked 100,000, 200,000. And like that all started, I think, between 1975 and beginning of the 80s. So it was
Yeah.
every year the girls make
But
more money.
but the women are still making millions now
Yeah,
because they get contracts, you know?
yeah.
Millions.
Well,
That's
the
true. I'm
women,
not anymore
women
in
are
the
always
business, you see?
male
So I don't
models
know.
that, you know, we didn't have, we're not endorsable. We, you know, male models, we didn't have the amount of covers that women have, or, you know, and in terms of the celebrity thing, Paul, to answer that question,
Right.
celebrity, it's not about Hollywood got smart. Celebrities got smart because they figure, wait a minute, I have to do a movie for 3 months, get away from my family for 3 months, being character in Timbuktu for 3 months. My family is back in LA for me to make, let's say, $1 million, for argument's sake. Now let's flip it. I could actually fly to Paris first class, do a cosmetic contract in 1 day, and I could make $2 million.
That's right.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm doing modeling.
Yeah, they got
So
smart.
they got, of course, it's not like the industry. No, celebrities got smart, and I don't blame them. It's like,
I
who
think
wants
there's
to be
very
away?
good agents like you. You're a Hollywood agent,
Well,
and
yeah,
you are
but
brilliant
it's
and
Yeah.
fine.
so
And, you
that
know,
people got smarter. It's like, you know what? I have to go where the money is, and why should I bust my butt being in character and away from my family for 6, 7 months when I could just do it in? I mean, most of these celebrities, a lot of them just go, you know what? Yeah, I shoot it, but it has to be at this place with this makeup, with this hair, with this, and my day that I'm ready, and I'm still gonna make my $2 million. Hello,
Yep.
it's a no-brainer.
No
It's a
brainer.
no-brainer.
It's
You
still
know?
going on.
Oh, it is the norm.
Yeah.
It
They even
is the
took the
norm.
editor. They even do the editorials now, which I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy people working, you know. But
I'm happy and I'm not happy. I don't know
you
how to explain it.
speak
I'm
now as
happy
an agent.
because,
Omar, you speak now as an agent, right?
yeah,
oh yeah,
you're still talking like an agent. I mean, we're talking like models. Who
yeah.
cares by now?
Well, you know, there's that expression I always say: once an agent, always an agent. It never
And
leaves you.
you
But,
were the best. You were the
but
best agent.
you truly have to think about this. Okay, we're talking about the celebrities and the endorsement and things like that, but they really cut off the arms of the agents because I'm really big on the formula. I'm really, really big on the formula. It's like, why did you guys mess up a formula that worked? It worked. So we have no outlets for male. I'm still wondering, like, how do you make a model become to blow them up these days when we don't have the GQ covers, we don't have details, we don't have Esquire, we don't have Lomobog, we don't have Vogons. We like where do we give the
And you don't
exposure to our male
have
models?
the photographers who used to make stars.
Forget that. We don't have the master photographers that you could call, and you know, when you think of, you know, the ability that we had as agents, you know, people like myself or the Nadias, that, you know, we've had incredible friendships. People call it relationships or networks. No, I got friendships. I got friends that I could call and say, hey, come on, man, give me 10 pages on the guy, man. Come on, dude, hook me up. Boom. You got 10 pages of GQ or Lomobo. You know your guy's going to work. Like,
True.
where do I put him now? What, on Instagram? Well, I'm really, I'm just dumbfounded with this whole new era of
Paul,
modeling.
be happy. You're older man. You see, we had really the good times. Huh?
Yeah, no, I
Yes, I'm
agree.
very happy.
70s,
I have
80s.
great
It was
memories.
great for
I
modeling.
had a
It's
one. I
great,
had a
great.
wonderful life.
Uh,
I am blessed. I'm wonderful. I can't complain. I met people like you guys. I ran around the world for 10 years on a backpack. I can't complain at all. I mean, I'm
no,
sorry for the new guys because they don't get to experience what we went through. You know, the
But
love,
Omar, but Omar, tell me
the
something. How is that today? You know, I'm out of the business since many years. But with us, the good thing was when you had New York or maybe Milan or Paris and Germany, you really could work. And I mean, I had every year trips with Gucci or other clients around the world. We flew to Hong Kong, to Tokyo, you've done all the big shows, and you made really, really good money. Or with Kenzo, Givenchy, and stuff like that. Is that not any more longer happening?
um, to to my knowledge, no. I mean,
Okay.
I, I just don't remember the last time someone called me and said, "Oh, we have a trip to the Maldives Island for a 20-page editorial for Roma Vogue." I don't know. I haven't had a call like that since. Listen, I did an editorial, not me, but I booked a model for an editorial back in 2011. And I got this girl a 16-page editorial, all Chanel. Franca Sosani was alive still. It was for Italian Vogue. It was 12 pages with Michelle Comte, master. All,
This is my
all
friend
single,
Michelle.
all
I
single
got my first job
pages.
with Michelle, yeah.
Yeah, a brilliant master. Let me tell you what I got out of that. Zip zero. And that was
No.
2011. And it freaked me out. I went, whoa, whoa. This girl got 12 pages of Italian Vogue, all Chanel clothing, and this should blow her up. It didn't do diddly squat.
But
Nothing happened.
correct me. Correct me, Omar. It used to be like that. Let's say you booked Palmero or me for GQ or Loma Vogue or stuff like that. Then GQ used to pay $150 a day.
Right.
But once you were in GQ,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
publicity rates went up and catalog rates
Oh,
went
yeah.
up.
Oh, you
So
went to work. You went to
yeah.
work.
exactly,
The phone
that
is
was your
ringing. You don't.
bank. Afterwards, it
You
was
didn't have to do anything. The phone is going to
nothing.
ring.
That's true.
It's that simple. You
And that
got
all stopped
editorial
now.
pages. Your phone will ring if you got editorial pages. You
Oh
know,
my God.
We were
Harry
lucky,
took
Paul.
me.
Paul, we were lucky.
Yeah, very. Harry took me to Haiti with Alberto Rizzo for 25-page editorial. We stayed in a hotel. All of us had a pool in it. I mean, we were treated like celebrities. It was 25 pages of GQ with me and Linda Hutton and this Brazilian model. I forgot his name now, but yeah, I was all over GQ for that year. Everywhere you looked, there I was. Thanks to Harry Culianos.
I have a story with Alberto Rizzo. I arrived, and Alberto was also once, what I said on the beginning of the show, one of those photographers who moved to New York in order to make even more money. Was
sure.
happening 77 and stuff like that. So I just came back from the collections in Paris, and I was booked for Bright magazine,
Vice
and they
Right.
had
magazine.
like a white couple and a black couple. I was a black man, a black girl, a white man, and a white girl. So I was used like coming from Paris. I went on the set. I took the white girl in my arm, and Alberto looked at me and said, "No, che cazzo, no, we are in America. This is not possible here." So the black girl looked at me and said, "Are you new here?" And I said, "Yes. Why?" She said, "After a couple of months, you will learn." So they didn't shut me together. I had to go with the black woman and the white man with the white woman. The 70s was incredible. one more story about racism. I work with Gordon Monroe, and I'm
Gordon
sitting,
Monroe, of course.
and I'm sitting in the makeup, and there is a blonde lady next to me. She speaks about Jack, and tells story, and she got a lot of attention. And suddenly, I looked at her and said, "But who is your name? Who is this Jack?" So it was Susan Sarandon. And then we went on the set, and Gordon said, "Okay, take Susan in the arms," and we had a wonderful time. And then the editor of that magazine came and said, "No, this is not possible. We cannot shoot the black man together with Susan." And she made a big fuss. But that was for all us black models also part of the daily business in America.
I
Yeah.
So when the
remember that.
magazine came out, Susan was beautiful black and white, and you had these Kodak
Yeah,
pictures,
sure.
and all my face was around her, and she was in pose. So this
You
happened to
know,
me a lot,
I was,
a
I was,
lot,
I was,
stories like that.
I was in that shoot. Eric Wright was the art director for that shoot, and Gordon Monroe shot Susan and I.
Yeah, and that
And
was one of my first
for
jobs.
Polly, please
one,
shed some
for
light on Eric Wright because I met Eric through you. So when I got to Paris, Eric was amazing to me. Tell the people who Eric Wright is.
well, let's see. Eric Wright was he was when he was very young. He was a very talented designer already, but he didn't want to stay in America. He wanted to go to Europe, and then he became an apprentice with Karl Lagerfeld, and eventually he became Karl's right-hand man. He would pick the models, he would pick the music, he would make sure the shows were amazing. Yeah, Eric, 6'3", beautiful, tall, black man with so much class and such a
So,
wonderful human being.
yeah, so much class.
So much class.
Which year was
And I
that,
remember you guys
Palmero?
were like
Paul,
this.
which years you're talking now about?
I mean, for what? With Eric Wright?
Yeah,
He must have booked you, man. Of course he
but
did.
which
He was
years?
working. He was working in the '80s with Karl
Yep,
Lagerfeld.
Yeah, but I
yep.
never worked with Carl, because he had no man. Oh, my time, he had no man.
He didn't have men.
No,
You're right. But the shows, I
Exactly.
think, he did Chanel
I,
afterwards.
I know
Yeah,
that.
you're right.
Yeah.
No men. He didn't use. There weren't any men
Yeah,
in
he,
his
he started using men in his later part of his career,
later.
especially on the films.
When
He started doing
when
men
we were out
alone.
of the business, when we
Yeah,
became white
exactly.
bears, then he started with the man.
So, Urs,
Yeah.
what's happening right now with you? And tell me about what's going on with your films now. Because I know you're an accomplished actor. You're doing a lot of great films out there in Europe. What's going on with you right now?
As you said, I'm still an actor. I work a lot in Italy, and
I'm
uh,
jealous.
it's a nice story. I made in Italy a film in 1984, L'allenatore nel pallone, and it was a comedy about football. And I'm playing this poor Brazilian kid, and we went to Rio de Janeiro to shot that movie. In the film is all the great people, Lindström, Angelotti, Graziani, all playing themselves. And to make a long story short, this film is so much cult in Italy. They show it still today, 10 times a year on television. And
Wow.
my character in there is Aristoteles. And 3 years ago, thank you, Italy, a small company in Italy, they created, to my honor, an Aristoteles beer.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was so grateful. And it was chosen last year as the beer of the year. Isn't that incredible?
Wow.
So I'm really, really, really pleased. Plus, I wrote a biography in Switzerland, Germany. It was a bestseller, and it came out last year in Italy. And now, of course, I would like that the book also, that I find someone, a publisher in America. We will see. So I'm fine, I'm having a little bit there work, a little bit there work, and I'm a retired man. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
nice. So,
let me
I
tell you
choose the
something.
work. I'm
If I
retired,
live
so I'm
where
really,
you
really
live,
grateful.
if I
Sorry?
live where you live, Urs, I will be retired as well because you live in a postcard. Every time I speak to you, I say, how's the postcard? I mean, I cannot believe that you wake up every day and look at your.
But you
I
know,
mean, it makes no. It's
I'm
a postcard.
I'm really grateful. And the funny thing is, you know, when I in that village, I grew up there, and it's the Lake of Lucerne in the mountains. And after all my traveling around the world and living in Rome and New York and Paris, when I became an older man, here is where I hope I'm getting old. So I'm really,
Okay, so
really
what I want to
grateful.
do is I want to put in a plug in here, and my plug is we need the Paul Palmero book. That's the book
He
I
wrote
want to see published.
one. I think you wrote the
He
book,
hasn't
right?
written it yet.
Hey,
I've been pushing him to Paulie, sit down, take your time, and
it's
write it
written.
down,
Paul
It's
and
wrote
already
let's
it.
find a
written.
publisher.
It's
Tell me,
already
Paul wrote
it's
oh
it's
yeah, we got to get that book out there.
it's already written. Last flight from Havana.
Ooh, I love the title.
Yeah,
I
I was on
love.
the last flight from Havana, so it starts in Cuba a little bit and then goes through all my whole life and some of the crazy stuff that I went through. So I think it might be better in Europe, or maybe you can help me.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
gonna talk
I mean,
about that.
it's
What I'm
difficult,
gonna
but
do
if
is
you have
Hey,
a
wait
biography,
a minute,
I'm
Omar,
glad
you
to
can
show
help me
it
with
to
the book.
my Swiss, yeah, and
Omar,
they
you
can
can
read
help
it.
me with the book.
it's
Sorry?
considered a done deal.
I'll send it to
Consider it done.
you.
Please, I would
Thank
love
you.
to. I would love to.
Do you
Listen,
believe?
with that said,
Do you
we
believe
are
with
running out.
Nadia?
We're running
You,
out of time.
oh,
So,
really?
you
That
know,
went fast.
we'll dance again, guys. We have many. This is just the beginning of something incredibly amazing. Um, I always end the shows by, first of all, giving thanks to the guests, both of you gentlemen who are very dear to my
Thank you.
heart. Uh,
Thank you. Thank you to you.
Definitely to Era Management for giving us this platform to shine the light on people like yourselves, who are the people who paved the way for us. The team over at Major Models, that they've done a fantastic job, and obviously our producer and creator, Miss Nadia,
We love
who's done a,
We,
Nadia.
I
Mwah.
we
mean,
love that. And you
what
know,
an amazing opportunity for us to be able to share stories with folks today. We're not trying to like diss what's happening today or anything, because we're all alive today and we live in the life that we live today, and we appreciate every single moment of it. But we do have some incredible stories that we get to share with the world, and just entertain the world with the life that we all lived and the industry that gave us everything that we are today. So
You know,
I want to say thank
Omar,
you guys,
you're,
and
you're, you're so right, because all of us, if you have the chance, should write a book.
yeah,
I mean, I wrote about New York, about the modeling, about the high days, about bankruptcy, about everything. And people love to read these
yeah.
stories. If you're honest with yourself, and Paul, I mean, I cross you the fingers. And I
thank you.
remember we spoke two years ago when you
Yeah,
told
because I
me
wanted I
that you're
wanted
looking
to
for
send
a
it to
publisher.
Ryan Murphy.
Yeah.
It was like a Ryan Murphy story. Omi, before we go, I just want to say God bless Nadia, because she brought me back thinking that everybody had forgotten all about me. And she started talking to me a few months ago, and she was telling me about the old days and how she liked what I did. And I tell you, for me, it gave me a whole new life starting again.
Wonderful.
For somebody to care and to love me for who I was, nobody comes up like that. So I wish Nadia the very, very best. And the people that are with her, they're lucky to have her as an agent.
Yeah, yeah,
I write,
that's for sure.
I signed it.
Guys, thank you
Nadia,
so
if you
much.
look at us,
And
Nadia, we all love you. This is for you and to all the other friends we have.
Goodbye, honey.
We'll tuned in.
guys,
Bye-bye. See you
and
soon. Good night.
to the audience, I want you to get ready because next week we have some goodies coming up for you guys. And guys, bless up to everyone. And I always leave the show by saying one thing: one love.
One
Thank you.
love.
And
One love.
Steve Lyon just writes, well done, boys. We love you too, Steve Lyon.
Grazie per
I see
tutti.
here, he just writes.
Bacioni.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, guys.
Good night to everybody.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you, Omar.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Omar.
You're more
My brother.
than welcome, boys.